Hi, I'm Sydney and welcome to my Flock and Squawk. Today I'm just going to be showing you and letting you watch in as I sew a quilt top. So I've already gotten a little bit started on it, but it is an Oh My Stars pattern. It is by Pat Salone and it is a free pattern on her website. And I believe that you can actually purchase a larger size of this pattern because this makes a 41 by 50 size quilt, which is perfect for a lap or a child. So if you want a larger one without having to do the work, then you have to pay for the pattern. But this is what it looks like. It is a very simple quilt in that it's mostly 5-inch squares that you sew together, and then a little bit of points with the stars, which is a super easy method. So I've already gotten started on some of it. My fabric I'm using is Star Wars. So I had 3 layer cakes of Star Wars fabric, so I cut one into 5-inch squares. Each layer cake is a 10 by 10 square, so I just measured and cut in quarters, so I had 5-inch squares, which I have some here, and I've already sewn a couple or a few of them into these 1 by 2. I've sewn, you pull out 16 squares for the points of the star because some of the points of the star are incorporated into your border fabric. So for the ones that are within the quilt, I have already started on the points. So I sewed this one corner across, and then I take the next piece and I sew it across here. I've pressed my seams open after I trimmed, so I will show you doing across the way and how I do these points. It's shown in the instructions there, but I think that it'll be easy if I just show you how I do it. I'm going to have a second camera set up so that way you can get an in-depth look at my sewing machine. And I might just do a voiceover for the rest of the sewing and then pop in at the end or have periodic check-ins. I'm not entirely sure at this moment what will work best, but I hope you enjoy seeing me work on this project. So let's get into it. So since I've already started this quilt, I have the corner on one side for the point of the star, but what you see here is me lining up the edges right sides together of the black fabric. Now I have markings on my sewing machine that I have made with tape, so I just line up one corner of the fabric and then sew straight, lining up the other corner where it meets the edge of my square with the line marking on my sewing machine. Another way you can do this, which I'll show in a second, is by taking a ruler and lining it up to the separate points. So right sides together, as you see here. I'll move that out of the way. So I have it right sides together. Then I take my pencil, which is a fabric pencil, and I take my ruler that is long enough and has markings that I'll be able to see, and I just line it up corner to corner, and then I make a line to sew on. You can also pin this if you feel you need it, but you see just corner to corner and mark a line straight through. You do not want to sew, you want to sew on this line that you draw or that you are using, because that is where you want the stitches to be. And then afterwards, I show that I take my ruler and I line it up to the line of stitches that I make, which would be the line that you drew, and I measure out 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and trim off this excess corner. So there I am just showing you what it looks like once you cut away and press properly. So as you could see the line of stitching that I make, and that makes the point of the star. So you just take this and you lay it down, you take your ruler, and then you just trim off, leaving 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So it's as simple as that. So next I'm showing, I've just decided to press all of my seams open for this project. It means that it isn't quite as bulky and you don't have to worry about that bulk at the seam or with multiple fabrics meeting up at each other for the points of the star. You can press to the one side or the other, but for this I chose to do just open. So it's a new day, a couple days later actually since the last clip, and I finally have all of my pieces done for this section, so I can start throwing it up on the wall and laying it out so that way I can have the fabrics distributed nicely. So I've got this, and I'm just going to follow, so I am going to check in as I go along. I'll probably adjust the camera. So I have most of it laid out roughly, so I think I'm just going to start sewing now because it's a little hard to see because I've got overhang off the board. But yeah, I think I'm just going to go for this now and then worry about laying out the rest after I see how this looks. So let's go to the sewing table. So I have 3 rows done so far, and here is what it's looking like. I just have it laid down on the floor. These aren't sewn. Oh, I have 4 rows. I'm sorry. They aren't sewn together row-wise, but all the blocks in a row are sewn together. So I'll check in when I have more done, but this is what it's looking like so far. So I finished sewing my blocks together into rows, and now I just need to sew my rows to the other rows, and then I'll have one large quilt top. So here is my finished quilt top. The only thing left are the borders, which will finish off stars like this one, where the points of the star will be in the border. But yeah, this is my finished quilt top other than the borders. So yeah, another project down. So I'm going to do the borders and show you the final product before it gets sent off to the quilter, and when I pick out the backing and what I choose for the binding. But here it is. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this quilt top progress, and let me know what you think. So that's all for now. Have a great day. Bye.